My first banking experience, it was in college, again part-time. I was a call center agent. I mean, I started, from that deep, but after that, I decided, okay, I'm going to be, someone who is going to be a game changer in this industry, and I always, wanted to, do something totally different. Cultural openness and the curiosity is extremely important, if you want to be successful or if you want to try something globally. And the second thing is being a leader, especially when you go up, in the corporates or in your company. You shouldn't forget, that we are all human beings, right? But at the same time, you have to be super professional. Problem-solving skills, understanding, pains, defining the pains. If you can understand this, whatever your industry, you will be successful. Between 30, 40, I think, this is the time, that you are shaping your future. In 20s, you don't know what you want. You don't know what you don't want. In 30s, you don't know what you want, but you are understanding, what you don't want. My name is Deniz. My background is banking. I started, my career in Turkey. I worked for a lot of local banks in Turkey, and after that, I worked for some global multinational banks. 2017, I moved to Standard Chartered, Singapore, and then, I had a chance, to build a banking.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Change is Possible podcast, your career transformation guide. So today's episode will be a special one. Our guest today is Deniz Guven. Trust me when I tell you that his journey into the banking industry is nothing less than inspirational. He started from humble beginnings in Turkey, but he managed to reach an executive level at such big names such as HSBC, Standard Chartered, and on top of that, he built a digital bank from the bottoms up in Hong Kong. So we spoke about his childhood, what made him who he is today. He shared some of his career challenges, how he overtook them. He spoke about his international career, what drove this step to go globally. And of course, he will share a lot of advice. And by the end of this podcast, I promise you, you're going to have a notebook full of insights. Before we go into the episode, I have a big favor to ask. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, like this episode, and send us a comment. This is how we're going to make this podcast much better. Thank you and see you in the episode. Let's go back a little bit in time and tell us in these early years and childhood, what were these moments and events that had the biggest impact on you to become who you are today?
Sure. Ani, thank you very much, first of all, for having me today. I was looking forward, for today, to meet you. And I always, I think, it's a great, opportunity, for me also talk about, my career, my past, also, learning and sharing, my mistakes. My childhood, was very peaceful. Born and bred in Istanbul, but of course, I spent a lot of time on the southwest side of Turkey, Fethiye. I mean, it's a seaside town. It's a beautiful place. When I look back, I think that there were two important things in my life, especially in the childhood. The first one is, as you know, we are neighbors, so you understand the culture of in Turkey. Yeah. The interesting thing is the most popular sport in Turkey is football, right? And although a lot of us, we grew up, with the football. But interestingly, my dad, decided, something very different, and he sent me to a basketball course, when I was 5. And 5, I was so young, and I joined a small club in Istanbul, and I started to play basketball. And believe me, the ball is bigger than my head, at that time. And, it was a really interesting experience for me. When I became, 7, I started to, work with a coach from US. And I'm talking about a ex-NBA player. And he was working with us. I think it was a great, game changer for me because, working with a ex NBA player and learning, from him, not only basketball. And I think, I believe that, I learned a lot, from him in many places. And to be honest, that was an interesting, point in my life because I think, between 7 and 12, he was our coach. We learned a lot. And I remember, one time, he was a very harsh guy. I'm talking about, 10 meters, 2 meters, 10 centimeters, a huge guy, and you're a small baby at that time, right? Small kid and learning a lot of things, and culturally totally different. And I remember, when I was 10, he was super harsh, and we lost a very important game, and I didn't play well. And he was harsh on me, very hard on me. And I remember, he said, one thing after the game. Yeah, I was so sad because of, all this, the difficulties and everything. He came to me and he said, one thing, Deniz, this is not about you. I didn't say anything to you. I know I was harsh. I said everything, to your jersey. I think, it was a great learning, for me, in my, entire life. And of course, the second thing is my childhood. I had a chance, to work in different areas as a kid. Because Turkey, you can be a waiter, you can do it. I did many things. So I think, my childhood, it helped me a lot, to build, my future career.
Wow, I can say the same about me because in that, I was in Eastern Europe, a bit different than Turkey. I mean, in terms of social climate, communist country, etc. But still, I still remember everything is peaceful and nice and pleasant. Wow, when you say to people, "Oh, I'm come from Eastern Europe," and they say, "Oh my goodness, it was so bad," right? And they expect that our childhood was really tough, which is so far from reality. Let's talk about the beginning of your career. What did you imagine at the beginning? Did you plan to become a CEO? Was that your dream? Was banking what you wanted to do?
Ani, no way. I mean, becoming a CEO of a bank or becoming a CEO of something, it was mission impossible. I mean, even dreaming it, it was really tough, right? I mean, I'm talking about really 1990s and 2000s, early 2000s, and it was tough. And I worked many times, right? Even in my college time. So I sold, insurance policies part-time. I created, content, for a big, media company. I was writing, about science and technology for the kids. And I tried, build, a couple of internet companies. I'm talking about, 1997, 1996. And I tried. And to be honest, my first real job was I was trying to obtain and collect domain names. I mean, I'm talking about, 1997. And I had a limited money, and with this limited money I was borrowing from my mom, and I was trying to buy domain names and resell, and we didn't have any idea how are we going to create another value with these domain names. The idea was buy it and sell it, but it was really fun and I learned a lot. And after a while I started to I learned how to build a web page, etc. And I tried to we started to build some value on top of all these domain names. It was a great learning. I work my first banking experience. It was in college, again part-time. I was a call center agent. I mean, I started from that deep, and to be honest, I'm super. I learned whatever I learned in this call center agent duration. Why? Because you are learning you are hearing everything from the customer. I mean, this is a very important point. I've been telling this, all the time. All the big CEOs or small CEOs, whoever you are, founder, co-founder, please talk to your customer. Please talk to your customer. I think, I learned, how to talk, with my customers or, clients, thanks to, that role, because patiently listening and trying to solve the problem, I think, I learned, at that part. And after that, I joined a bank in Turkey. But in the first 1 year, I had no idea about how to become a CXO or CEO in a bank, because it was like impossible. After the first year, I should tell this I think, I decided, okay, I'm going to be, someone who is going to be a game changer in this industry. And I always, wanted to, do something totally different. I mean, nothing related with the titles or something. Of course, being CEO or being a leader, is very important. But the idea was I'm going to be a game changer.
Great. Well, that's a great motto and drive. And I guess this is drove you throughout your career and establishing a digital bank, which was a game changer also. Another thing a lot of people ask me is about international career and how can they start an international career? What are the benefits? Why do we have to do it? You did the same. You started an international career. Can you tell us about that? Why did you do it? What's important? What is your blueprint if you want to develop internationally? What do you have to do?
As a Turkish citizen, I had always an idea, hey, I want to try, something outside of Turkey. Turkey is a big country, but there are always, some other opportunities, outside that I wanted to try. And to be honest, I didn't know that much. But once, I joined HSBC, I'm talking about, early 2000s, I realized that, there's a world outside, right? How I see the multi-global experience, I mean, I think that the first thing, I should say, sooner the better. Sooner the better. Why I'm saying that, of course, people, the comfort zone is very interesting, and building something, in at your home country or, homeland, it's beautiful. But there are tons of things, happening outside. When I joined Standard Chartered, I'm talking about, early 2017, my teams, I was in charge of, 32 different markets as a global head in Singapore. And in my teams, I think I had 43 different nationalities. And that was a breaking point, for me in my life, in my career, because, I used to work with, some different nationalities, but more than 40 different nationalities, different motivations. And as you know, I mean, the people, they have, different motivations. They have the human nature, and the human needs are a bit different, right? You have to, map out your teams, with these, human needs. And culture is very important here, that you have to understand. It's not like, hey, I have a HR department, we can manage it. You should understand, as a leader, otherwise you cannot manage it. I mean, I can give tons of examples, but I mean, West Asia, East Asia, or Asian, or Africa, or Middle East, totally different. I mean, working with Turkish people and Spanish people or Bulgarian peoples, there are some differences. Of course, there are some common languages, but still, you have to understand, these motivations, and also the different pain points between the people. My recommendation, actually, I mean, the cultural openness and the curiosity is extremely important, if you want to be successful or if you want to try something globally. And the second thing is your adaptation power, or speed, right? That pace is extremely important. To be honest, wherever I go right now, I remember when I first moved to outside of Turkey, my belief was, okay, I know everything, I can be successful. But the first 6 months, it was like hell. Oh my God, what I'm gonna do? It was tough, right? So the adaptation speed is extremely important. You should be super open. And of course, the third one is understanding of localization. Localization doesn't mean that, understanding the language. So I lived in Hong Kong, more than 4 years. I tried to understand the culture. Of course, language was part of it, the Cantonese or, Chinese, Mandarin. But other than that, to be honest, understanding the culture and the motives. This is a very critical thing. It's more important than, your business or, your business model.
Was there a period in your career when you were seriously doubting your trajectory? When was that, and how did you overcome it?
I think we all make some mistakes in this life, right? And sometimes, you have, some big mistakes, small mistakes. I think luckily I didn't make a big mistake. But I always, check my, trajectory, always, maybe every 6 months, every 12 months. This is my thing, right? Every 6 to 12 months, I check my trajectory. Instead of, doing a big changes, what I do, some fine tunes, because this is the most critical thing, that you have to understand. And honestly, sometimes, for example, if you make a mistake, okay, you can exit it and you can start, again. This is fine. In my life, what happened, for example, when I first moved to Singapore, Standard Chartered, I moved from a local bank, with the support of, big Spanish multinational, right? But in a local bank, your power, your impact is totally different. And I remember my early days in Singapore, and my impact, to be honest, I moved to Singapore, with a big role, even though, that it was so tough, for me. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I think, I made a mistake. This is a mistake. This role is not the best role, for me. I should change it. But what I did, you have to be persistent, and you have to understand what is happening there. If you can do the right fine tunes, I think you can find your right trajectory.
Can you give us an example from your life? What was a big failure and how did you deal with it?
Which one? Many of them, right? But to be honest, let me start, one of them. Yeah, just one is enough, right? It was 2000. And I was working for Demir Bank, at that time. And Demir Bank, was the 5th biggest retail bank in Turkey. A really strong one, with a lot of innovative, products. We decided to launch a mobile banking. I'm talking about 2000, 23 years ago.
Yeah.
No iPhone, nothing, right? And we work with big consultancies, and we paid tons of money, to the consultancy, to build it. Technology, I think, at that time, we spent, almost like, $10 million. It was a big money at that time, right? And we said, okay, we are going to rock the market. This is going to be the first mobile banking. I'm not saying app, mobile banking platform of Turkey. And we launched it. Oh my God, you cannot imagine, the celebrations, first 1 month, we were like, rock stars, we will change the market, etc. Meanwhile, I was looking at the numbers, and of course, at that time, the reporting is totally different. We were using, SQL directly, to the databases. And I found out, something interesting, because, the numbers were not very convincing, to me. And I was talking, with technology teams. Hey guys, could you please, check these numbers, etc. Anyways, of course, the top management, they are asking the numbers, show me the number. And after 2 months, we realized that our customer number is 46. 46 only. Okay. And to be honest,
that's not a great number.
And to be honest, that was a great point for me. First of all, you shouldn't do the things just because of you have the technology and you can make it, right? And that was a point that I learned a lot. It was the biggest mistake we made it. And why? Because technology, you have it, but how many internet connection, how many phone devices that we have at that time in the market that they can connect to the internet? There was only 2 devices, right? 2 devices. One was Ericsson, the other one is Nokia. And how many people in the market that they have those kind of phones? And we were talking about 2G. Nothing. I'm not talking about 2.5 edge or 3 or 4 or 5. 2G. Yeah. It was a big mistake. We didn't do any market research. We didn't do a proper customer research, right? Not market only. So It was a great mistake. Why I'm saying great mistake, I tell the same thing, to my son. Sometimes you can win, sometimes you can learn. I mean, that was a great learning, to be honest. I don't believe that, of course, it was a huge mistake, right? And that's why, wherever I go in the world right now, I started the businesses, with a proper research. I mean, big research, small research, ethnographic, it can be varied, but, you should start, with that one.
And what was the emotional effect on this failure? I mean, I just can't imagine how you felt.
I think thanks to my basketball career, I played since 17 professionally. I think failures emotionally in the beginning it's a bit tough, but after that, to be honest, I'm not taking that much. We should take it seriously, right? It's not about, hey, I made a mistake, thank you very much, let's go. No, you should take it seriously. You have to do your post-mortem internally very carefully. What did I do? I mean, what was wrong there? And my honest opinion, you can make those mistakes and those failures, give you some emotional difficulties, sometimes. But if you are not making the same mistake again, there's no problem. I mean, this is how I look at the things right now, because, if you do the same mistake, again, it's still a mistake, right? I mean, you shouldn't do that.
Maybe we should talk now about the digital bank and your experience there. Can you describe it? What it is to build something completely different?
I think, again, sometimes digital bank, sometimes not, but I always, built the operating model. And for me, the definition of operating model, there are many different, areas, but it's not only about technology. As I mentioned, how we built mobile banking, 23 years ago. It's not about technology. Technology is critical, but, you should think a bit differently. And to be honest, when I look at the operating model, first of all, you have to define the right KPIs, right? You shouldn't, come up, with something, hey, we are going to get 1 million customers and I'm going to do cross-sell, I will do upsell. This is banking, right? You have to define your KPIs, to differentiate yourself. I remember, our first day zero meeting, and I had only, 5-6 people around me. And I told these, people, hey, we are going to onboard customers in Hong Kong in 3 minutes, 46 seconds. This was our first KPI. I mean, to be literally 3 minutes, 46 seconds, that was the first KPI of MOX. Today, of course, you can see a lot of onboarding, but I'm talking about, 2017 and putting, this kind of a KPI. It was a game changer. Nothing related with technology on it. I mean, you can find the right technology. You have to work with the regulators. You have to work with the risk teams, right? But if you put something in front of your team, then you can change your culture. You can find the right people, to do that, and then, go forward, right? So that was the first thing. The other thing is, of course, I personally also, with the team, banking. I mean, banking, especially if you are talking about the second line, there are 10 different risk types for global banks. I revisited, starting from framework to policies to standards. I don't know how many standards and policies I read, and I tried create a new, not a full framework, but at least if you want to be something different, if you are talking about a new operating model, you should touch all these places. The other thing is, for example, FCC, financial crime, AML, transaction monitoring, transaction screening, fraud, all these things. Technologically, you can do everything. But if you don't define how we are going to manage this in a better way, smarter way, by the way, you should protect yourself as well, not only the customer, because it's a mutual relationship. I mean, then you can change it. Marketing. We changed the game plan of marketing entirely, because I'm not a believer of, hey, if you are not counting, if you are not measuring, it's not marketing, it's branding, right? And then, end to end, you have to do, the session analytics. You have to understand, what's going on there. There are tons of things, that you have to define like that. But what also, I don't want to take something like, hey, Deniz doesn't care, technology. No, I mean, I think I should also, share one thing. Mox Bank, it's a fully cloud native bank. In Mox Bank, there is no server. There is no physical server. Entirely cloud native. We built the bank on smart contracts. So the main ledger system and the entire the ecosystem around it, the entire DevOps system is on the smart ledger, which we call it blockchain today, and we built it in 2018, right? Why we did that? Because cost effective, future proof, and if you want to do in the future, real time everything, you can change many things very quickly. Time to market. I mean, we thought about all these things, but we put the technology like an enabler on top, actually on top of all this the operating model components.
No, absolutely. So technology is not first. First, you have to define your vision, what you want to do, and what the clients will do. And you're so right about the risks, because the risks, imagine, as you said, 3 minutes 25 seconds to onboard the client compared to days. How the risk component changes. You have to do all these things that you're checking within seconds and minutes. You shared just before we talked, before the start of the podcast, that you don't come from a family of bankers. So how did your definition of success changed through the years?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I'm the first banker in my entire family. Actually, nobody wanted to touch any banking system except me. But yeah, I mean, maybe my son will become. He was telling me just a week ago, hey Dad, I want to be a banker, and I said, okay, let's think about it. But yeah, we will see. Honestly, the success, I mean, it's a difficult definition, success. What is success? What is not? But I've been telling myself, since day one, day zero, whatever, right? How can I differentiate? How can I think, outside of the box? And for me, success, I remember, early days, my younger days, it was like, if someone tells me, Deniz, this is impossible, you cannot do it, that was my success, if I can do that, right? I mean, I have, this in my DNA and my genes, I mean, I don't want to hear, something like this. I'm sure, I will find a way, to do that, this way or that way, right? And this is the thing, it was my, success point, in the early ages. Why I'm saying that, it's not only about, hey, we gain, this many customers. I remember, in Guarantee Bank, we built the first mobile banking app, 2007. And when I left Guarantee, we had, 6 million customers, which is bigger than Singapore's population, right? I mean, it was a success, but my success criteria are a bit different. Today, when I look at this evolve, if we can call it evolve, I think my success criteria is building really desirable products and services. I mean, if I can build this kind of things, or my teams or my involvements, that's my success criteria. Can you make money? I mean, if you can build these desirable products, and if you can build these desirable services and platforms, money follows. Money comes always. I mean, that's the easiest things. But the critical thing is, this is my success point. If you can do that, that's the best thing. And the correlation between the desirable platforms and hard share is very important, because this was my biggest conversation with my board when I was in Mox. And of course the boards they always, and they should, I'm a board member right now, we should ask what will be your market share. But before market share, I think, we have to also think about, what will be your hard share in that market. If you can get the hard share, market share will come. All right. And you have to think about this, as also a part of, KPI. And then, you can be successful.
And in more personal, personal kind of level, what is success for you?
My success, I think, if you can increase my, time, playing basketball with my son, that's my, success. This is the success point, that I'm working on right now. He's a player as well. We play together, and I mean this is my, personal part. Other than that, to be honest, we always, work. We all, super busy. But my son and myself, if we can play more basketball, I think, that's the success.
Great, very, very nice success point. My success point is time, spending more time with the people I like, my family, and on things I'm interested in to work. Let's now try and help the listeners with some advice on careers. Today, everything is changing. The pace of change is unbelievable. It's never been like this ever before. To people who just start their careers at the moment, what would you recommend they should do? What is the industry they should look at? What are the skills that they should aim to get?
I mean, it's tough, right? Telling something, hey, go with this industry. I'm sure you remember is, people, they were, hey, you have to be a computer engineer because, this is going to be super hip, I mean, right now it's a bit tough. Today, if you ask, to the people, hey, you have to go with, AI. To be honest, my motto, my approach, is always, finding the right business models, understanding, the opportunities. And if you are a problem solver, you're a problem solver always. And to be honest, these are the skills, that you have to, bring to yourself, starting from day one and build them up, in the future, with more muscles. I'm not a guy like, hey, you learn AI, you will be super, super successful. Of course, I mean, you have to understand, what is AI. And honestly, before ChatGPT, I was answering, this question, Deniz, what do you think about AI? And I was telling, I have never seen an AI before, but ChatGPT is changing the, the scene right now. But honestly, my recommendation, to the people, the first thing is, I mean, problem solving skills, understanding, pains, defining the pains. I mean, if you can understand this, whatever your industry, you will be successful. The second one is, interoperability, between the industries, it's going to be real.
Become the link between the two industries, right?
Yeah, that will make you indispensable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing you should, build. And the third one is, I mean, this is not about skills or the learning, more about life and career. It's like a marathon, not a sprint. Sometimes, in early ages, when you start, you compete, with your team members or, the colleagues. It's a marathon. I mean, you do not need to compete, with these people. You should compete with yourself, and there will be a lot of, competition in the future. I mean, I always use this, helicopter model. I mean, if I feel myself, super under pressure or, I feel myself, uncomfortable, I take my, virtual helicopter and go up and look at the situation, what's going on, and where am I right now? Is it really valid for me, or is it something really tangible, to think about it, or, concern myself, and then come down, solve the problem, and go further, right? I mean, this is the thing. I mean, this is what I'm expecting. Also, I'm advising, to everyone.
Helicopter model. Okay, I'll remember this one. What about people that are in the mid of their career, right? So 30, 40 years old, everything changes for them. Again, I'm not asking about industries, but what should be their mindset? What should they be thinking, preparing, learning?
I mean, I think, this is also very similar, but, between 30, 40, I think, this is the time, that you are shaping your future. Because, between 20 and 30, I was talking, with the CEO of, Turkcell a long time ago. Turkcell is the biggest telco operator in Turkey, and the CEO, he was a ex-Microsoft CEO as well, and he asked me, Deniz, what is your expectation? Do you know what you should expect, from this life? And I was, mid-30s right now at that time. And I said, of course, I know, I will do this, I will do that, etc. And he was laughing at me, and he said, one thing, Deniz, of course, you are a young person, very dedicated, I appreciate. But in 20s, and he said, this is my experience. And in 20s, you don't know what you want. You don't know what you don't want. In 30s, you don't know what you want, but you are understanding, what you don't want. In 40s, you will understand, what you don't want exactly. And highly likely you will realize, a couple of things, about, what you want. So 30s are very important. I think, they should, understand, and they should, realize that, what they don't want and how they are going to, shape their, future lives, industry, career, life, whatever. I think, this is the most important part of the life.
I completely agree with you that actually knowing what you don't want is also very powerful. And then last question before we go. If you go back in time and meet the young Deniz in the Mir Bank, what is the one thing you tell him?
Same thing. Deniz, this is a marathon. Don't kill yourself, some small things. And marathon, enjoy it, try to learn, push it forward. But I think my letter, to myself, in Demir Bank should be also, Deniz, go outside of Turkey earlier and learn a bit more, as soon as possible, as soon as earlier, right? As early as possible, to be honest. So I worked in Turkey, for a long time, and I left, after, 36, 37. So that's why that was my, I think these are the two things. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This was such an interesting discussion. I could have spent another 2 hours with you talking about life and universe. Thank you so much for dedicating this time to speak with me and to all the listeners of the podcast. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, Annie. My pleasure. Thank you.
This is all for today. Thank you for being with me till the end. And before you go, I have a huge favor to ask. Would you please subscribe or leave a message and send us any comments and recommendations? The more we hear from you, the better this podcast will be. Thank you for now, and see you in the next episode.